I'm the king of the game and I won't be swayed. But there's something that I need, something to push me higher. Talk show Chris Collins and HenricK, they're on fire. They're watching all the rage quitters, exposing them with pain. They keep their gaming real, that's why they get all my respect from me. Rage quit, Chris and HenricK, don't you ever stop. You're the voice of the gamers, splittering rage quitters on the spot. With your wit and laughter, you're the champions we need. Rage quit, Chris and HenricK, you're the heroes of the gaming breed. Turn around the video game mayhem. Chris Collins and HenricK, the rat bring the chaos. Gaming news and industry talk, they got it all. Rage quitting, head banging, it's a metal brawl. Mental meltdown, gaming in flames. Chris and HenricK bringing the thunderous rage. Video games and viral content, better games, ripping through pixels, the ultimate game to get away. The ultimate. Game over, I'm feeling the rage. Chris Collins and HenricK on the stage, talking gaming news, industry that can't escape. We're reviewing video games, no need to debate. They bring the heat, spitting truth non-stop with fiery words. They're ready to drop, making waves in the world of video games. Collins and HenricK, they don't play no games. From console wars to DLC scams, they expose it all, making sure no one jams. The audience fired up, ready to explode. When rage quits on, you know it's a code. You know it's a code. When rage quits on, you know it's a code. Rage quit, rage quit. I'm losing my mind. Chris and HenricK, they're talking gaming all the time. Rage quit, rage quit. It's a love-hate affair, but I keep coming back, ain't nothing else to compare. Rage quit, it's a love-hate affair.
What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
I'm doing great as always, Chris. It's time to raid.
Oh man, we got a lot to unpack on this amazing episode of Rage Quit, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live, whether you are on YouTube, Meta, or Twitch. And for those who have not liked, shared, or just shared a post from the Chris Collins Show or HenricK Direct's YouTube channel, this is like the best way to discover us. If you go ahead and use your phones, go ahead and scan the QR code that will send you directly to my YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and subscribe so you never miss a post from your homeboy.
And you see this lovely QR code right here? Well, that one goes to my YouTube channel where there's tons of content just waiting to be watched. So go watch some videos, leave me some comments. I'll be waiting.
That's right. And we always like to start off the show with the bang and show you guys a lot of viral content that is circulating all across the World Wide Web this week. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. So 7 years later, Red Dead Redemption 2 is still pulling secrets out of its coat like a magician who refuses to end the trick. I mean, when's the last time you picked up Red Dead Redemption 2, HenricK?
Oh, it's been forever. Probably around the launch time, actually.
Right, exactly. It's been a long time, but they still have very much a devoted fan base, and players just uncovered a spider-themed mystery that only appears for 1 hour a night, involving a telegraph poles, feathers, and map overlays that somehow turn Fort Wallace into a guitar from the sky. So this is insane, and a former Rockstar developer confirmed it's real, which raises the real question before we jump into the findings. Is this a legendary final reward, or Rockstar casually teasing Grand Theft Auto 6? Or maybe this is going to disappoint everybody that put in all their hard work, all busy chasing spiders. And if you haven't seen some of the evidence and some of the clues so far, let's go ahead and take a look.
This is one of those things that's like, it honestly makes sense that it took people so long to find it, but how much do you have to play this game to actually notice it?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's why you got to give praise to Rockstar Games, and that's why so many people are so excited about Grand Theft Auto 6, is because of the attention to detail, and it clearly shows, especially when we're now all figuring out about an Easter egg that no one's discovered for over 7 years. And oh man, this has elicited a lot of comments online. And the first one reads, "Not gonna lie, I don't know what the F I'm looking at here," with the follow-up comment that reads, "Someone found that at a certain time on certain electrical posts, a metal spider web and a feather will show up for an hour and at all sorts of hours of the night. The electrical post will have the symbol shown on the map. The symbol points to different spots on the map that have the spiderweb post. The thumbtack color represents the color of the feathers, the numbers, what time the spiderweb and feather show up." I don't know if I want to be the Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to kind of coast and be an armchair bandit and let all of y'all cowboys be the gunslingers and go do this on your own, right, HenricK?
Yeah, I think I'll do the same. Kind of just let the people doing this investigation figure it out, and then I'll sit back and enjoy seeing them do that and finding some great big discovery
I
about
think
it.
your excuse though is, HenricK, you got a lot of games you got to review. You know what I mean? You don't got time to backtrack. So, but then you also get like really funny memes like this, like it's the Mind Flayer. Maybe they knew something about Stranger Things long before we all did, or maybe this is an homage towards, let's say, Will Smith's, Wild Wild West. Kind of did look like that spider, that robot spider. Maybe that was what it was supposed to be the entire time. What if it just randomly shows up in the middle of the map 7 years later? Like, oh my gosh, it was like a final secret boss. That would be pretty freaking legendary. But I don't know. Tell us, gamers, what do you think? And then the last comment reads here, it will turn out to be more cut content probably, but the fact that people are still discovering new things in this game really shows the incredible amount of detail Rockstar put into this game. And I have to attest to that. It's pretty freaking amazing. But, I gotta say, HenricK, there's nothing humbles you faster than getting yourself cooked online in a college football 26 game so badly that your friend stages an in-game intervention, then takes over as the offensive coordinator. I would probably be like, who wants to be a millionaire and phone a friend? But I'm sorry, HenricK, I couldn't use you as an OC. I don't know if you would even know what an RPO even means, right?
Not well enough to help you out there.
Exactly. It's all good. But I know I'm going to call you for other games. I know sports is not usually your forte, but 1 minute you're calling plays, the next you've been demoted to just kind of hold the controller and don't mess this thing up, all right? But before we roll the clip, gamers, is this clutch teamwork or the most polite benching in video game histories? So let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Oh, wait, fuck, we're on defense. Okay.
Gotta love friends.
Sports games, like, you can't even hate the fact that they're having that much fun with it, that they're willing to make it that important.
Yeah, exactly. Who needs the whole VR headsets to get immersed into the gameplay? I mean, I remember last year we were showing, this one young kid that, stepped in almost like a head coach calling plays for his little brother. So I like this kind of style of teamwork. But is that considered cheating? I feel like the other person on the other end of the screen probably doesn't know that there's someone whispering in their ear. Maybe it's better than having AI assist.
Yeah, but how many people do you think are actually doing this?
Probably not a whole lot. But then
Probably not a lot.
But then again, is it against the code of ethics? We will see. But the first comment reads, oh, shoot, we're on defense. That was kind of funny. He's trying to give him a little word of wisdom. Cover 4, I'm kind of hearing in the background. And then he's like, oh, shoot. We need to focus. We're on defense here, all right? I'm looking at the wrong team. And then the second comment reads with the meme, run the route again, damn it. It's a cut. He's acting as almost like he's Nick Saban here. What a legend. What a menace to the college football world. And then inside zone, counter, RPO screen, bubble, mesh spot, and any of the ones with either 2 out routes or a comeback. We'll win a natty with those as bread and butter. Is that a guarantee? I want to know from you, the gamers. What
depends on the coach.
Does it depend on the coach? Does it depend on the team? Or does it depend on
Actually,
a certain play style? Because there's sometimes I'd be playing like Madden games, for example, HenricK, and there's always a guy trolling me by playing the same play or the same formation. And when I start losing to a guy like that, that is the most frustrating feeling when I start hearing HenricK like whispering in my ear. Sounds like you got a skill issue. Exactly. But we got another thing that's been kind of brewing up, which is the internet is doing what it does best, putting HenricK on trial after a clip went viral showing aim so precise it looked like the arc rotors personally asked to be eliminated. And so, if you don't know what the hell's going on, HenricK, between accusations, mysteriously vanished VOD in a side-by-side clip with PC players like Tfue. Everyone suddenly has a law degree in cheating detection. This always seems to be coming up week by week. How do the PC players get along with the console players? This time, it's a console player. So before we dive into the comments, gamers, is the cracked controller aim the mouse and keyboard envy, or is this just like another crossplay courtroom drama that isn't going to be settled anytime soon? Let's go ahead and see what started all this.
So where are you meeting
profile.
where are you meeting with these girls at?
Oh, I don't speak to women. I'm all about my rights.
I saw 2.
Nice.
Do you know me? I'm a mouse and keyboard player. So we're gonna hop on controller, go to your settings, go to controller, select linear, and look how good the aim assist is. It just locks on. Now go to the next lane. Locks on. Look at that. Lock on. It's not that hard, guys.
You know, the clip, it does look really sus, the way that he's aiming and kind of like jerking back onto the target.
Right.
But that is a good clip to show at the end there because aim assists on controllers can be exactly like that.
So does it kind of feel like a little bit though, like because I am a console player more than I am a PC player? Do we gotta kind of take a back seat a little bit as console players and just kind of chill out a little bit? We're always accusing PC players of being so OP, but then all of a sudden we got a new fresh drama that's now directed at us, the console players. Is it a bit too much? Let's dive into the comments because what does this mean for the unemployed? What does it mean, HenricK?
It just means that there is some drama to delve and sink their teeth into. That's what it means.
I mean, when you look at Nick Merckx and then you look at Tifu's gameplay, I think it's pretty clear who the PC gamer is and who the console player is. And so when you see him start jumping around like that, is it fair to have a little bit of aim assist on the controller? I don't know if my thumb can move as fast as someone jerking around their mouse.
This is actually a debate that happens in a lot of esports leagues for games. I mean, I know I haven't really played Apex in a few years at this point, but I do remember, and even now I'm sure I could go find some complaints of people saying, you know, I'm in esports leagues as a PC player, and all these people are playing on console and with a controller because the aim assist is just that good.
Right.
And, you know, you look at the clips, and it is a very compelling argument to see, hey, actually the aim assist is really, really good and really helpful in these sorts of situations that you're thrown into in games like this. And, you know, at that point, it kind of just surpasses what you can do as a PC player with a mouse and keyboard.
But then you also get comments that read, HenricK, I don't get how these people can have good accuracy when the bloom of a gun is unpredictable. I'm just bad. I'm coping. So some people even with the aim assist still suck at arcade.
I always thought about that when, you know, this is going to maybe date how long I've been playing games, but like looking at Counter-Strike players and Counter-Strike 1.6 and being like, man, how does this guy know how to control the gun well enough to hit a headshot through the wall?
No, you know
with
what?
A gun that is completely unpredictable.
Fair enough, HenricK. But you know what also dates us back is when we used to celebrate back in the day that we even had the opportunity to crossplay. Now it's like, oh
That's
my gosh,
true.
I can't wait to turn this freaking thing off because of all these
You know
goddamn
what?
PC players.
I actually don't
everything.
usually care about that whole feature, but I play with people who every time we hop in, they'll be like, man, I don't want to play with console people, or turn this off.
See, well, there you go, because then you get this last comment that reads, proud console player, love having the option to turn off crossplay and play with more casual players. You see, they're discriminating against you, HenricK. They don't think you're chill. You don't know the way.
You don't hear the voice.
And
I can be chill. I swear I can be chill.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But this is Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live, whether it is on Meta, Twitch, or YouTube. We are on every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. And we're just going to throw up our QR codes one last time. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
And you see that QR code down there, go ahead and give that one a scan. It goes to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, there's even more of it on the YouTube channel. Just go check it out and see what there is.
Yeah, you know, come on, just show the love, baby. But now it's time. We got to get rocking and rolling. You ready to go, HenricK the Wreck?
Oh, yeah. Put on your moon boots, Chris. We're going to be walking in space.
Oh, shoot. I forgot my moon boots. I still got that dust in my mouth. I was just so glad to get some fresh air. Oh, guys, let's dive in.
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Routine. Routine is a survival horror set in space at a lunar base. If you're familiar with the survival horror genre, you'll be familiar with this one. What really is going to set it apart from the others is the atmosphere. You wake up and piece together that a routine perimeter check of the lunar base turned into anything but routine. The security system has been activated mysteriously, and security robots are now chasing you down. However, something eerie is clearly at play, but whether you'll survive and unravel the mystery is another thing. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
With a name like Routine, it makes you wonder who really wants this storyline as a routine, because I definitely don't.
I didn't even think about it like that. Holy cow, you just stumped me like right at the top of pause and repeat. Yeah, I mean, when you open up with this game and you hear the sound that, crawls under your skin in an image that quite frankly doesn't leave your head. I mean, I still am looking at that bright white moon, HenricK, swallowed as the two dark circles drift across it like an omen. And now the image is like floating in space with no map, no direction, and the light slowly fading. Just you in the quiet, realizing that something has gone very, very wrong on this lunar base.
Yes. And when it comes to the gameplay, I guess to dive into that, it is pretty much the standard survival horror affair. You're running from some sort of threat. There's just a heavy tension in the air the whole time, and you have barely any way to defend yourself. You really just have to hide and do some puzzles and find the way forward, and that's really the gameplay loop right there as you delve more into figuring out what the story is and what actually happened on this lunar base. But they actually, at the same time, according to what you can maybe see in some of the gameplay, it gets very dark. Very dark,
Very dark.
and they do not hold your hand in that dark either. They don't tell you where to go. You got to figure it out yourself. They don't lay out a trail of like yellow paint like some games will
Yeah,
do
exactly.
to tell you where to go. You just gotta.
I think
piece
they heard
things
from a lot of
together.
the millennial gamers bitching and complaining that we've had too much yellow paint in our lives. And so,
Yeah.
they figured that, ditch the UI and, drop you into, like a silent lunar base where, curiosity quickly mutates into survival. I mean, like you said, there's no waypoints, there's no hand holding, just you, the dark, and the creeping feeling that something absolutely knows you're there. And so, HenricK, did that figure it out yourself approach pull you in immediately or just make you nervous?
It definitely didn't really take me out of it. It actually immersed me, if anything, in the game and the atmosphere. And I say this from a perspective of a horror fan. And to kind of explain why this works so well, you're in space, on a lunar base, far away from any Earth civilization where you can potentially get help, right? So you have that isolation aspect already, but then you also have the atmosphere of just a lot of tension and something eerie happened. You don't really know what. There's this mystery, and that in itself makes you feel like you're checking corners and checking behind your back, making sure nothing's following you, because you always feel like something is watching you.
Yes.
And that is even scarier to experience, knowing that you're so isolated from civilization because you're the only one there. And
Yeah.
are you actually alone? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. I don't want to really spoil it too much.
Well, the opening monologue sets the tone perfectly. I mean, there's hopeful words, curdling into dread as the bass goes quiet. I mean, yeah, like you were sort of referencing a little bit, the story isn't so loud or flashy, but it's got that environmental, suggestive, and, very unsettling in a way that gives you that trust to connect the dots. And did you like how it lets the silence do most of the talking in this game?
Yeah. They do a good job of environmental storytelling, where it's like you walk into a room, you see things turned over, or a bag with what may or may not be a corpse in it. You don't really know, and then you read a diary log or a journal entry, and you're like, oh, that was a dead body in a bag because they're talking about it right here.
Right, yeah.
Things like that. You piece it together and you're like, oh wow, actually there's a lot of detail that went into these environments to tell me the story without actually telling me the story.
Yeah.
Like a traditional game with like a cutscene, for example.
Right, and you start off by, printing your ID, you're learning how to crouch like your life depends on it, and then you're slowly realizing that the movement itself is the core mechanic to the game.
And did you notice that the movement, it's, at least I was playing on keyboard, it might be different on a controller, I don't know if you played on controller.
Controller.
To like get lower, it's such a, like, I can normally be okay with key combinations, but it's such a weird key combination to get down. It's like,
Oh,
okay, I gotta
interesting.
commit to doing this. Like, if I'm gonna get on the ground to look at something underneath something,
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
commit to doing that. And actually, it helps with the tension in the atmosphere, because when you have to do that, it's like, oh crap, like maybe something's gonna sneak up on me, and I'm in a compromised position here where I can't easily get out of it, just because physically my hands are spread out on the keyboard.
See, that's interesting. I want to know, with gamers that are watching this right now on pause and repeat, did you have that similar experience? If you were a PC gamer, was it a little bit difficult? If you were on console, I didn't quite have that as much, but I believe you. That is a real thing. That is definitely a real thing in video games. And then they also, hand you a tool called the Cat that, turns exploration into a detective work. I mean, but it's cool though. I mean, you get to, track footprints, terminals that can help you solve clues by scanning fingerprints, and then you see clues in every hallway that feel like a bad decision waiting to happen. And so, HenricK, were you tense the whole time playing this game, or did you ever feel in control?
I would say, actually, looking at the experience that I had, I felt tense for maybe the first 30 minutes. Then, in the first half of the game, after that 30 minutes period of time, I got really comfortable. I was like, okay, actually, I know the layout of this area. I'm just gonna run around. I'm gonna dodge the enemies, and that's gonna be fine. But then they threw me for a loop with the second half of the game, where it completely changes that formula, and I was no longer comfortable, because now I have to be on edge again.
Yeah, HenricK, in that second half, I can't believe I'm ever going to say this, but I'm going to on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. I never thought that I'd ever be scared shitless of an ass crack in my entire life. I mean, if you know, you know. When you play the game, you'll know if you know. I mean, that was quite an experience to jump and go, oh my, was not expecting that. But yeah, you got these neon greens, emergency reds, and that blue space architecture that makes the lunar base feel cold, abandoned, and hostile at the same time. And then you come across like a demented robot that is nightmare inducing, especially when your first encounter is, like you said, HenricK, you got to hide under a desk, staring at its legs. You have no idea what the thing even looks like in the beginning, and then all of a sudden the camera just loves to remind you how small you are. And so, with that in mind...
It was actually really funny, too. The first time I came across it, I was walking down a hallway, and I was opening a shutter, and I heard something behind me. I was like, it sounds like the elevator's coming up right now. Like I didn't touch any button for the elevator. Elevator door opens, there's the robot. Here I am.
Then you got to move fast. I mean, especially in the first 20 minutes, you're just kind of exploring your surroundings. And then right when it finally kind of kicks in what routine's all about, you're like, holy cow. But I want to ask you, did you feel like as though the visuals crank your anxiety, or was it the sound design doing most of the heavy lifting? Because I feel like as much as the visuals are great, I really felt like the sound design really stands out in this game. It really pulls you into the screen.
Oh yeah. The sound design is amazingly done. I know Mick Gordon actually worked on it for a bit, and he didn't stay until the end. He dropped it back in 2024, and someone else took over. But you can still kind of see, if you're familiar with Mick Gordon's work in like the Doom series and the other stuff that he's done, you can kind of see the influence there. And Mick Gordon's a genius when it comes to sound design, so it totally makes sense that it pulled you in more than the visuals.
That musical score in the opening is awesome.
Oh yeah. The visuals hold up also, though, in terms of like,
oh, absolutely,
making you feel uneasy, because you're getting that film grain and that like
Yeah.
retro late 80s, early 90s aesthetic to your vision. And it's also just very dark. So, like I was saying, you don't have a whole lot of information to go off of when you look down a hallway.
So true, especially with the gameplay. It's leaning towards, tension over action and then forcing you to crouch, hide, and, move carefully while that lonely moonlight pouring through the massive window, especially like in the opening where you got to open up that garage door window and then you see the base and you just feel like how beautiful and deeply hostile it is at the same time. You kind of also get a little bit of that Vault Tech, kind of flair that's within it, especially when you start seeing the nameplates. They're like, welcome, you're in Union Plaza, the mall station. So, like, every hallway feels intentional. They're empty and, they're ready to betray you the second you relax. And I'd say I would say this, the atmosphere in Routine did more of the work than the enemies for me, I would say, though, HenricK.
Yeah.
What did you
The
think
enemies
about
themselves, and I mean, honestly, it's kind of a typical thing for survival horror games, at least with this kind of budget, like more indie style budget, where once you really get a good look at the monster, it's not scary. But
Well, especially when you start thinking of Will Smith's I, Robot, you know what I mean? That was my first reaction when I saw it. So, did it work for you? Did you guys like it? I know that with Routine, it's eerie, it's tense, and again, it's very unsettling, and it's confident enough to let the silence do all the talking. So, does it stick the landing? It kind of feels like it hints at maybe a possibility for another one. Maybe that's if enough people, decide that it's okay to step outside and breathe the moon dust. But I kind of like this one. I got to say this is a repeat. It's a fast ride, but if it does bring in a sequel, I would definitely want to jump back in this. It feels very much like a very, very good pace for this kind of style of game. I don't know if I would want anything more. But then again, what do you say, HenricK? Does it earn a return trip for you, or are you leaving this base sealed forever?
oh yeah, this is a repeat for sure. I'm gonna recommend this to people who like horror games and maybe even watch them play it because it's gonna be that enticing to just see their reactions to things that I know are scary.
Yeah, like, I know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a repeat as well.
So you heard it from us, and so tell us, gamers, are you replaying this nightmare, and would you willingly go back to the moon knowing what's waiting? Let us know what's good. But we got here so much here on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, so you, the gamer, stick around, and HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Oh yeah, let's clock those guns back because it's time to fire some shots at the industry.
Oh, damn, I like what you're saying. Okay, let's get it, baby. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. So Larian Studios just told AI, you can clean up the studio, but you're not touching the canvas. I feel like we've heard this way too many times now. A lot of studios having to backtrack on previous stances, but the CEO says that machine learning can handle the boring back-end chores, but generative AI is officially banned from the final art, concept, and anything that actually ships in the next Divinity. And so I know a lot of people were excited when the news broke during the Game Awards. They're like, holy cow, remember the Mojave Desert? We're like, what is this thing going to be linked to? I thought it was God of War, possibly, because I saw a bear and a serpent
a
snake.
big discussion online.
Right? It was crazy. And after earlier comments set the forums on fire, the message is now crystal clear. AI can sharpen the tools, not replace the hands. But that didn't stop gamers from commenting on what the hell Larian Studios going to do next. Don't put AI in the games. Even though we all love Baldur's Gate 3, we all like Expedition 33, they kind of borrowed on this kind of same method, and now a lot of award shows apparently are not cool with it anymore, HenricK, when it comes to what Claire Obscure did with that mini studio. But besides that, gamers, does this feel like the right balance between efficiency and creativity, or should AI be completely out of the party? And that's where we dive right on into the comments with the first one reading. Refraining from Gen AI for concept art feels like a trust-building move, especially after all the confusion lately, with the follow-up comment that reads, "It is. Honestly, I don't think they did anything wrong. They were basically just letting the artists use it if they wanted to, presumably just having the paid version as a tool to use for some of the tedious stuff or just finding inspiration. In the end, what matters to me personally, if it's optional for the artist and it's artist making the art." But I always kind of laugh at those kind of style of comments because it's like, no, I'm really cool with this. Like, HenricK, like, if they want to use it for inspiration, cool. But, like, if you got that image and you like the image from AI and then all of a sudden you put the hand to copy that, isn't that almost like when the teacher used to bring out the projector screen and then she's, like, literally following tracing the lines? Isn't that still technically borrowing from the idea of AI? Or is that not the same, HenricK?
Well, I guess what they're saying when it comes to like getting inspiration from it, it's like, oh, actually, I kind of didn't think of like that maybe as a design or a place to put a character, or, you know, something to put in the environment, for example. And then they'll be like, you know what, I'll take that and kind of put it somewhere else. Maybe
does
not
that-
exactly like
but-
trace it, but just put it somewhere else.
But does that qualify from, you know, from like previous complaints where like people were saying that like picks up the tedious work? Because a lot of people were saying let the artist be the artist, but if the artists are using tools like the AI to be able to grab inspiration, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? I don't know. Join the chat, gamers. Like, I'm really curious.
I would say, at least personally, I think there is some real nuance to that statement of doing that, like pulling inspiration from AI. And think of it like this. I mean, it's not entirely too different than like saying, hey, I got inspired by this artist on Twitter, or I got inspired by this artist that I saw in a local art gallery, you know, and I then took their idea and kind of modified it and made it my own a little bit, and now
See,
I
that's
put it here.
interesting. So that's an
Because at the same
interesting
time,
take.
if you think about it like that, I mean, a lot of people I know don't want to think of AI as an artist itself, but you think of it like like an artist itself that you're just getting inspired from. You're not entirely copying or using directly. It's the same concept, really, when it comes down to
That's
it.
interesting. And I think I even read news before I jumped on that even Comic-Con is backtracking. I guess they were going to allow AI artists to join, you know, the convention, and now they're not doing it after artists, you know, had massive backlash. Even Bandcamp in the music space also had a lot of backlash where they were allowed AI artists to take over their website. So there is still a little bit of that grip that's happening about what's the proper way to utilize AI. But then, you know, this
Yeah, and
comment
I think a lot of it is because all these companies don't want it to feel like it's just an asset flip or a cash grab, where it's just like, oh, I have this money scheme where I'm just going to make a ton of money by putting in no effort into this actual art piece and just do a prompt. And
Well, what do you
people
think
are
about
gonna eat it up, you know?
Right, but what do you think of this comment that's on screen, HenricK? If you think that in 2026 a tech company isn't using AI-assisted code, then I've got a bridge to sell to you with a follow-up comment that reads, is it an AI-assisted bridge? I mean, it was pretty interesting, you know, at the beginning of the week where there was a lot of people clowning the Duffer Brothers from Stranger Things because an image was circulating online where someone, like, you know, really zoomed in. They thought they were using ChatGPT, and then it come to find out it wasn't. It was like Google Docs image or whatever. But it's gotten to that point where it's do you even respond? Why even respond? I mean, everybody's going to be utilizing it anyway. Like, is Larian Studios really going to take a hit from their player base if they flat out just said, like, AI is here to stay and we're going to utilize it? Because remember, even Tim Sweeney came out and thought it was really silly that Steam had to even put an AI label on these video games. But then some people were like, hey, yo, HenricK, the reason they do that is because it's no different than when we got, like, The Witcher 4 trailer, and we have to have those subtitles that show up on screen going,
Yep.
this is not the actual in-game footage.
Not
This
in-game
is
footage,
cinematic.
yeah.
So, is it a bridge too far? I don't know. We'll keep it rolling. The next one reads, Larian's really going out of their way to communicate in good faith, but every time they even mention the word AI, it's going to generate 1,000 inflammatory articles with ridiculous headlines, probably in their best interest to just not talk about it anymore. Is it best to just not talk about it, or is this appropriate even if they're not in damage control, because again, this all started from a Reddit AMA. They didn't, someone asked it. They didn't have to select that question, but they did. But then they're backtracking from previous comments that they've stated almost 2 or 3 months ago. So it is funny to see that they flip so fast. But what's your thoughts on this, HenricK?
Yeah, I think we'll probably not hear much about this from them in a while, at least, because this is probably going to be one of their last statements in regards to it. But they probably wanted to just address the anger of people out there saying, you guys are the worst studio for doing this, pulling AI out and saying that you're using it. Okay, fine. Yes, we're using it for the tediousness, but we're not going to be putting it in the game. And then now we probably won't hear much else.
Well,
why? They're probably still going to be using it, but just not telling us.
It feels like they're almost having to say this now instead of later on, because they are a studio that has a Game of the Year winner, and that is Baldur's Gate 3. And Divinity, when it comes out, let's say it gets all this kind of high praise. Well, a lot of these gaming award shows are starting to push back against any kind of AI use, and so it feels like a lot of these studio heads are kind of clapping back and be like, you know what? The reality is, everybody's doing it. Yeah, it was easy to clown Ubisoft, even with their Ghost Rider, and even Activision saying they're going to use their assets. But it's I think even with this comment, let me see. I think this next comment kind of addresses a little bit even with Activision. Yeah, let's go into this one, HenricK. My only hope is that the CEO learned a valuable lesson here. It's all fun and games to take pot shots at the industry you're a part of and the other human beings in it, but you're only one decision away from your own turn in the barrel. With the follow-up comment that reads, my only hope is that players do some basic research and realize there's a Grand Canyon of difference between what the CEO was talking about and what Activision is doing in Call of Duty. I get that AI is a hot topic and everyone wants to have an opinion on it, but 99.9% of the players know absolutely nothing about it. They just hear the buzzword and start bitching online. I know it always kind of cracks me up. It's like even when I'm working some of my side gigs and and you start overhearing conversations and people are like, oh, well, AI, it's all scaring me. This world's so crazy. I'm like, you have Alexa and Siri. Holy cow. You've been with AI all your life, and now you're acting as though it's doomsday. Even Navita's kind of sounded like what I've been. The CEO, he's like, all these doomsday writers, they're all talking about, AI is the end of humanity. But, is that kind of a fair comparison, to know that, we even clown Call of Duty. Remember, it was the six-finger Santa zombie and how they were selling cosmetics that were clearly AI-generated, and you feel like it's such a slap in the face because it's you want me to pay $15 for something that you just typed in text to image?
Well,
it does seem kind of crazy.
I'll let you finish your thought.
No, that's kind of really it.
Okay, I was just going to say, I think the difference there is a couple things. So one of it is, I feel most people would be okay with AI use as long as it's proofread, in a sense. I mean, it's the same thing if you were to do an AI prompt asking, hey, write me this paragraph, and then you just submit the paragraph, don't even look at it. And it's okay, well, clearly you didn't put any work into it at all. But it's different if you were to say, okay, give me a paragraph, and then you go through and you actually proofread it and maybe change things around, because it's not going to be perfect every time. It's not going to sound like you even, because it's not you. And that's a bit different, And a lot of these complaints for companies like Activision doing AI cosmetics and AI loading screens, they're doing the first thing where they're just saying, yeah, just make a thing. Just ship it. Don't even look at it. At least It feels like that. It feels low quality, like they didn't put the effort in. And that's why people are mad about it. And there might also be some bias of people like to complain about certain games and game studios. And that's why when it comes to a studio like Larian, it's a bit more of an interesting conversation, because people don't hate Larian for their games.
It's also, too, 2025 was horrible for a lot of, people that create a lot of the video games that we love and we play, because of a lot of the layoffs that have been happening. And obviously the grunt is letting AI do all the busy work, while we should allow the humans to have the creative wheel and feel like and a lot of these studios are finding like out that can we find that equal right balance, especially when we had like companies like Electric Arts, for example, who have now said with the new acquisition, no, we're going to be heavily pushing into this whole AI thing. And so is this still like a slippery slope with a fancy tooltip? That is where we're going to have to soon find out. But, they did confirm that they were not going to be using generative AI art into, the writing, for example, and even the art pieces. So the final version of Divinity is all going to be very much human creatives, especially when it comes along with the dialogue, the journal entries, and the finished visual assets. And so do you have a problem with AI being used as a concept art and then, the humans coming in to replace it? That's where you, the gamers, need to chime in. And so we'll leave it at this kind of like final thinking point. Tell us, gamers, is this the right balance? Letting AI handle the busy work while humans stay in charge of the magic? Let us know what's good. But all right, HenricK the Wreck, let's start to switch some gears, because what is the latest industry buzz happening that gamers need to know? Break it down.
Well, Ubisoft is back in the headlines, and once again, it's not for a victory lap, because this company is now shutting down its Halifax studio, canceling Assassin's Creed Rebellion, and shelving an unreleased Rainbow Six mobile game that was set to launch next month, at the end of next month. So the question is, why now? Why was Ubisoft were they stretched too thin chasing the mobile games? Because these are mobile games, clarify that. Or are executives clearing the board for something bigger? Like maybe they're trying to make their numbers look nice for an acquisition, or, for stock prices to go back up. It's a bunch of questions that people have. So let's see what the gamers are saying in response to hearing that the Halifax studio is being closed.
Yeah, I mean, let's dive right on in, because the first one reads, another classic Ubisoft L, with the follow-up comment that reads, hopefully their other studios will unionize as well. So is this that classic Ubisoft L? It's always horrible news to hear that people get laid off, especially when an entire studio like Halifax just recently unionized, and some people feel like maybe that is one of the main reasons why Ubisoft let them go. Or maybe, HenricK, just maybe, I'm just going to throw this out there. Is it really a good idea to put Assassin's Creed characters looking like Funko Pops into a mobile game? How stupid is that? I think the idea of
doesn't appeal to me, at least.
Come on, right, exactly. And I know there's going to be some gamers out there going to go, oh, it actually was really, really fun. I believe you. But the thing that I struggle to understand, and I'm sure this is what Ubisoft is also thinking too, but correct me if you think something else, HenricK, but maybe they're starting to realize, especially in the last couple of years, we got Resident Evil 4 showing up on the phones, and they're going, wow, if they can do that, then why are we repackaging some of our beloved franchises into a mobile style of a game when we could just bring our own Assassin's Creed in, like they did with Mirage? And then they're looking back and they're like, holy cow, we spent a couple years doing this game, and then all of a sudden we just figured out how to port the game to an Android or an iPhone? What the hell are we doing? Why are we throwing more money into it? Is that, I don't know, am I being a little too mean about it?
It could be part of it, but also I would say, at least hopefully, I hope that they're looking at their games that are coming out and seeing that they're getting a lot of negative backlash against some of their biggest titles, like Assassin's Creed. And Rainbow Six is just seen now as a money tree for them by a lot of people, and a cash cow by others.
Or even if they do get a franchise everybody loves, like Star Wars Outlaws, they're like, man, you still can't figure it out,
just completely butcher it according to the fans. But I would hope that this is them saying, you know what, maybe we have to focus on the IP we have and not putting them out as mobile games, but putting them out in their big titles and actually doing what people want, rather than, continuing down the trend of what's been happening the last couple of years, where the game comes out and people just shit on it.
Yeah, because you just kind of wonder. It's like, how did Nintendo get so super successful bringing some of their even Mario IP into, the iPhones, for example, and then the Assassin's Creed? It's like, well, why did you do that? Why now? But then you get comments that read,
Yeah.
well, if the game's released in 2025 or anything to go by, we're about to see another couple studios pop up and produce some absolutely fantastic games that weren't allowed to while working at Ubisoft. With the follow-up comment that
And
reads,
This,
oh, yeah, go
yeah,
for it.
this is referencing what happened with Expedition 33, where it was previously people who worked on that were previously at Ubisoft, and then they went to go and make Game of the Year last year.
Yeah, and that's true. And then you also get, another follow-up comment that reads, funding for games does not grow on trees, unfortunately. And that's kind of where I, kind of put my stance on it. It's like, listen, like, is it even really worth investing in that kind of stuff? Shouldn't we just be focused on putting some of our, prize package into, a style of a mobile port? We'll have to see. But then others feel like, no. And how do you agree with those statements? What other gamers are saying, HenricK? Like you were suggesting, they're just like, man, dude.
Well, I
like,
mean,
we just
it
don't
is
trust
gonna
Ubisoft
be-
no more. They can't get the shit done no more. They can't get it right.
Yeah, I mean, they've been going down a path that people don't like for a while now, and it's almost like, guys, do you not look at the trends? I mean, you're clearly trying to chase trends, but you're like 5 years behind the trends.
But
it
why
seems
do
like.
another like spin-off version of Rainbow Six when they already got the Rainbow Six Siege X going? And if people really liking that
Or
multiplayer experience, maybe they're like,
Here's
that's
a
stupid.
crazy thought, Chris. How
Okay.
about we bring back a Rainbow Six game like the ones that people grew up with, where you're actually on like a SWAT team sort of style squad? Like, I think people would like that to come back and not just have Rainbow Six Siege be the only Rainbow Six.
But do you think
kinda
that kind
thing
of
out
style
there.
of game would work on a mobile phone? Because, like, again, Halifax Studios were kind of, geared towards trying to bring, games to the mobile base. I'm sure they would want to branch out, but that's kind of what they
I
were
think
pretty known for.
maybe won't be like the biggest title on a mobile device, but they could make it a mobile game and then also make it so you can play it on other platforms. There's nothing stopping them, like you were saying.
Right. And let's see with this comment. It says, always tough to see people lose their jobs. Wishing the affected team members the best. With the follow-up comment that reads, this is a major loss for our local economy and game development industry. This studio is probably the largest in the entire province. There are very few other prospects for the people, unfortunately. Hopefully, a smaller independent studio can emerge once the dust settles. And I think there can be, bright light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, clearly,
Yeah.
Expedition 33 showed that. I mean, it's amazing that you
Mhm.
can gather other like-minded game developers through a Reddit thread and then all of a sudden come together. So it's like not everything's always doom and gloom, right, HenricK?
Yeah. There's always some place to move forward, and as long as you have some sort of passion in the industry, and you don't lose hope that you're gonna be able to put out something that people like, there's probably gonna be some place for you. You just gotta find it, really.
It's so true. And then the last comment reads, I've worked for several large multinational corporations and their respective finance departments, and the discussions around shutting down the whole offices and terminating large numbers of employees usually happens 8 to 12 months in advance. So even though the headlines right now sounds like purely union busting, there are definitely other financial reasons that will legally hold up should those employees choose to fight for unlawful termination. Plus, most large corporations will have consulted with their own legal counsel that specialize in the employment law to assess any quote-unquote offside business decisions. Still sucks for the employees, but they don't really have a leg to stand on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Blew the
most
kneecap
companies
out.
plan for this thing to make sure that people can't come after them afterwards.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I pretty much, I believe that person, And so, HenricK, are we reading between the lines too hard here? Or did Ubisoft quietly decide the mobile gamble just wasn't worth it?
Yeah, they're probably looking at their numbers from the past couple years, especially if you're thinking about how this was probably planned 8 months to a year ahead of time. Think back to 12 months from now. January of last year, they already weren't doing great on their titles that were coming out. So they were probably looking at things and seeing, okay, what can we improve on? What can we maybe cut the fat on? And maybe they just decided, hey, these mobile games that could potentially make money, but people are always coming out and saying they don't want these mobile games of these IPs. Maybe we should just cut them
Yeah,
because
and I
it's
even
not helping us.
I even remember last year too with Activision Call of Duty. They pushed back on even in their own mobile game. Wasn't it Call of Duty Warzone? You
Hmm.
know, they were like, "Hey,
Yeah,
we're not. This is not worth
they
investing in anymore."
stopped
That
that.
shocked the hell out of me. I was like, I know a lot of
Mhm.
homies that still hold on to their PlayStation 3 controllers, HenricK, or PS4
Yep.
controllers, and then they probably PS4, not PS3. That thing's an ancient relic, the PS3. But the PS4 controllers, yeah, you get that Bluetooth going, you start playing it on your iPhone or Android, and you're like, hey, this is kind of badass. But now they're kind of starting to figure maybe this just isn't worth it in the end. So tell us, gamers, are we overthinking this, or did Ubisoft finally realize that, shrinking console franchises onto phones wasn't the future? Let us know what's good. But let's continue to keep things rolling, because you might have noticed in the new year your local GameStop might be packing up its shelves, with more than 400 stores headed towards the retail exit after its legendary stock surge, back in, what was that, 2021? The company
Yeah, during
tried.
the pandemic.
Yeah, right, HenricK. They tried reinventing themselves with everything from the crypto lockers to the NFT marketplaces, hoping one of them turns nostalgia into a business plan. Well, come to find out, even with ads with this whole Trade Anything Day, that was pretty odd,
Or then
right?
stealing the Best Buy girl.
Yeah,
Having her in
exactly.
that
Who you
picture
see
now.
on screen. And here's the wild part: if CEO Ryan Cohen somehow rockets, GameStop's market cap to $100 billion, he personally unlocks up to $35 billion in stock options. So, gamers, is this the greatest comeback quest in retail history, or a boss fight set to wipe the party? And that's when, gamers wanted to chime on in, as they always do. And GameStop near me was open for the longest time, and then they closed last year. I'm not really surprised by this when the majority of the store is just full of Funko Pops and other overpriced collectibles now. With the follow-up comment that reads, I still remember when I went to buy a couple of Game Informer, GameStop's own magazine at the time, and they didn't even have any copies, or even someone to just tell me to buy it digitally instead. But they sure did have an entire wall of Funko Pops and discounted Naruto t-shirts.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is wild. Don't you think, HenricK?
Oh yeah. Because I remember when EB Games in my local mall turned into a GameStop. They kept the same atmosphere. It was like you walk in. It's like one little hallway, but you walk in, you go to the back wall, and there's some used games on the shelf, and you can go and look through them and see. Oh, maybe I want to buy this one that's $10. It looks kind of cool. Now you walk into a GameStop, you're lucky if you find a good game deal that's a used game, because all you're really going to see in terms of used games is their little, it's like a bin basically of just used games that are all usually shovelware that people don't really want at the end of the day.
2016 Madden. Do you want to play that? Oh, no, yeah, it's so
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
And what's also crazy too is it is a little, as much as GameStop has ripped me off a lot of times over the years, it is a little sad to think that it's like GameStop is really centric on being all things gaming, and now that you're starting to see over 400 stores start to close down, where do you go to get physical games? Do you got to go to the Best Buy? Do you got to go to Wally World or Target just to go to a tiny little section just to hope that you can find the physical video game that you
And that
want?
is the thing, is like a lot of the sections are so small in those places, and having worked in a Best Buy as well, I will say, at least my store I worked at didn't actually have the games on display in the section. They were behind the counter at the front door. So
Yeah.
you got a little paper say, "Hey, I want to buy this game." Then you bring that to the checkout.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't want to do that. Why do I want to do that? And then you get comments that read, GameStop still existing is impressive to me. And, it is. I mean, especially when you see the GameStops that are not tied to a mall. Like, you feel like the GameStops would be more successful when they are with the mall. But then again, Malls are dying off so freaking fast. I mean, malls have to like accommodate to become this whole entertainment mecca. They're like, wait, you guys don't want to go to Hot Topic anymore? We got the movies. We got a live concert venue. We got bowling. We have a way better catering food service for you.
Yeah.
And that's still not enough to get gamers to be like, you know what, maybe we should take a detour to the mall to go check out some physical games. They're like, nah, I think Amazon's cool. Maybe I'll just wait for my prime time 2-day delivery.
I mean, I'm partly to blame for that sort of thing too. Like I
We
don't
all
really
are.
go to
It's
the
great.
mall. The only
It's
time I go to
great.
the mall is if I'm going to the theater at the mall.
You ain't lying. And then the CEO is going to get paid in Funko Pops and Pokemon cards. I mean, he probably did get a lot of, hopefully, PSA 10s from his junk removal program that they did with Trade Anything Day. But then we also get a follow-up comment that reads, he's not getting paid, no $35 billion. They're spreading misinformation. If he improves profitability even more, increases the market cap, he will be allowed to buy 170 million shares for 20.66 a piece and $20.66. Why did I say it like that? Anyways, he's not actually getting paid cash or just getting awarded free shares. He'll still have to buy those shares from the company. And yeah, that's correct. He has to reach the goal to be able to open up the window to be able to buy stock options. But at this point, do we see a bright future for GameStop, or do we see doomsday coming? Will the Avengers have to come in and save the day? But let's go into this last comment that reads, they closed my closest local store. They gave the employees like 3 days notice. Yeah, that is pretty
That's
brutal.
rough.
Especially when they're like, hey, everybody's going to come in and prank you on Trade Anything Day. You might get, smelly.
Yeah, it was so short after that. Oh man.
I mean, how crazy of a stunt that is. And then all of a sudden to be like in the new year, like, hey, did you enjoy the holidays? Did you have a really good new year? Oh, by the way, here's your 3-day notice and go find a warehouse gig. But HenricK, is this a comeback story in the making, or just the most ambitious side quest retail has ever accepted?
Well, it's really people not going into the Best Buys. They'll be going to Best Buy instead of GameStop, potentially. And even then, people aren't going into Best Buy most likely to actually buy games. They're going into their PlayStation or their Xbox or their PC and buying it digitally.
Yeah.
Or they're ordering the physical copy online on Amazon, waiting a couple days, not having to leave their house. The only times I hear of people actually going and buying a physical copy in a store nowadays is on the launch day if they want it the same day. Or if they're just feeling like, hey, I want to go play this game that maybe just came out, maybe didn't come out just now, but I want it immediately and I don't have to wait for the Amazon shipping to come. And that's really the only benefit they have, is that it's an instant access to the said game as opposed to having to wait for it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Or it's now changed into being like, collectors. You know what I mean? You start seeing
that too.
The Pawn Stars, and start seeing those stories.
The people
where
that that sometimes don't even play games necessarily, just have a wall of the games as a collection.
You're right. Or just like, wow, you still have a perfectly preserved Halo, Combat Evolved game. Like, holy cow, I want to buy that thing. And maybe you're just hoping that the value builds up over time, especially now that gaming starts having award shows that are starting to pull in way larger viewership than the Academy Awards, the Emmys, even the Golden Globes that were just on last Sunday. So, that's even super incredible to even think. And, you just have to think about even, Blockbuster days, and also think about how everybody laughed at, even Netflix for even doing the whole DVD mail-in route, and then they ended up making their streaming service, which then leads to why gamers don't buy physical copies, because of these digital marketplaces and these streaming services. And so, a lot of that plays a factor in killing business storefronts like GameStop, and maybe even your local hobby shop as well that caters towards physical video games media. But tell us, gamers, if CEO Ryan Cohen somehow pushes GameStop to a $100 billion valuation, he personally unlocks up to $35 billion in stock options. So Is this the ultimate comeback arc or just the boldest boss fight retail has ever queued up? Let us know what's good. But all right, HenricK the Wreck, clearly, having a skill issue comes with playing the games that we all love. I like to think that. Not everyone loves a yellow path in game, but now something can change the way we play. Break it down.
So picture this. You're stuck on a puzzle. We've all been there. I know you remember me playing this game called Scorn, and I got stuck on a puzzle for like 20 minutes.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm trolling
we've
you
all
in the
been there.
Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Look there,
Yeah.
look there. Why are you making me look over there? don't rely on me. I'm just gonna troll.
Yeah. Yeah. So at some point, your pride is gone, and the YouTube guide tab is already open, but Sony wants to cut out this middleman of YouTube. They don't want you to go in that tab and look up some guy's YouTube video on how to solve something.
Yeah,
So they have a
why?
new patent filing exploring the using of AI to jump into your game world and on demand help you out. Not a built-in companion, but a temporary assistant when you're stuck. It's not, it's still just a patent, not a finished feature. So the real question is, how do gamers feel about AI popping into their game to help them out instead of, going to the YouTube walkthrough and seeing what, Dave1275 says?
No, I think that's a great question. I mean, my first thing is thinking about, pause and repeat, where we just talked about routine, literally with no UI help. Would you want that in a game that's like, that's the whole point? But then again, sometimes if you get stuck, you need it. But let's dive into this first comment. This was in the Mario games in like 2009 with the follow-up comment that reads, yeah, the new Super Mario Bros. For the Wii U, it was pretty cool, but then with another gamer adding in, not that it makes much difference, but I think that was just a developer ghost running through a scripted cycles. This sounds more like it would be reacting in real time to scenarios with more variables at play. Would you want that, HenricK?
I mean,
I
it could
think it's
be
kinda
it could be useful for sure, but also I don't know. I feel like I want to have the control of me doing it usually, not have someone showing me in the game, even even if it's not actually a person and just an AI going in and showing me, hey, yeah, go look over here, then shoot this thing.
I would have really liked this AI tool when I was playing Alan Wake 2. I mean, I really like that game, but I know if anybody's played it, it's kind of a frustrating detective experience at times. And I'm guilty of pulling up that YouTube tab.
Hey, but would you take this over, like, say, a character like Atreus or Navi? Whispering
Okay,
in your
that's
ear, saying,
funny.
hey, go do this thing.
Atreus, boy. Yeah, I know, right? Always giving away every single clue before you even have even a second to possibly look at the the structures that are on the wall to be able to
Yeah.
give the clues to open up the door into whatever the unknown is. Yeah, that's a fair point. What do you gamers have to say about all this? The next one is, imagine paying $80 for a video game only to have AI play it for you because you're stuck. I hate this timeline. Okay, I think that's a bit of a stretch. And they're not like,
It's not going to play it for you. It's just going to
it might be kind of
show
lame
you
if you find out that
something.
there's going to be Twitch streamers in the future that are going to be VTubers, and you can't tell that they're real humans behind the screen, and all of a sudden it's like Sony's AI just making money for them because they're just allowing this AI to play the game for them. Yeah, that would be kind of wild to imagine paying $80 to have an AI
It kind of
play
reminds
it
me
for
of
you.
how, like, there's a lot of MMOs out there that are really designed around, hey, we know that maybe this quest marker is one of several you have. Here's a button to teleport you to the quest marker. Or if they don't do a teleport, they're like, hey, press this button and you'll just walk. You'll auto walk down a path to this quest marker. No having to, like, figure out where to go, any of that, because that takes too much time. We need you to progress.
Yeah,
So we can
need you to
have you
progress.
spend money on the game.
I just hear about this whole Sony AI thing, HenricK, and I just think like someone is going to take advantage of this. They're going to laugh at people like this that go, imagine paying $80 for a game to allow AI to play your video games for you. And then someone's going to turn this around and find a way to make money off of this. And then they're going to run a Twitch channel or a YouTube gaming channel playing some of your favorite video games. And you're not even going to realize that it's a human playing it, it's AI. And then all of a sudden we're all going to be suckered in and they're like, wow, I really want to play that game. And then Sony's like laughing going, holy cow, we invented something that we never knew would be a tool to be monetized while you're sleeping, as you, a gamer, is suggesting. They really are trying to turn us into the Wall-E chair people. Maybe they are. But what if I'm making money while I'm sleeping? I'm just kidding. I'm envisioning something totally different than what Sony's inspecting. But is that, I mean, are we turning into the Wall-E chair people? I don't know. You tell us, gamers. And then the last comment reads, ooh, this is a thick one. People are going to be bothered, but it's no different than looking up a step-by-step guide or even handing it to a friend or family to help you. Just because you don't have a use for it doesn't mean no one else does, laughing out loud. It removes having to search on the internet for answers. Could be useful those who need it. With the follow-up comment that reads, there's also an accessibility argument to be made here. There are some parts of the games that impede players because they cannot physically do the required task. We've seen in a big rise in developers adding accessibility features over the past several years. Here's to hoping they utilize this technology to make it even better. Personally, I'm hoping they create an AI player too so I can play the games like It Takes Two that my partner has no interest in playing. That's a food for thought.
Second thought there does have a good point. And I would hope that they're looking at options like that to make it so people who have disabilities can actually play certain games that they're having trouble with. And that's a great benefit of this sort of technology. The first bit of the comment, though, I understand why people are angry maybe about the idea of this, as opposed to like handing the controller over to a friend or a family member, because there's been this big push, or at least I've seen that there's this big push for people to want to connect to each other more nowadays, because so much of our attention is drawn away from each other and drawn to screens or their phone or what have you. And the experience of handing the controller over to your friend next to you is something that you can't replace with an AI.
Well, it sounds like you will not be putting a $20 deposit on the Razer Project Ava, the holographic cylinder desk companion. You heard it first from HenricK Direct. So if an AI can jump in the moment you're stuck, does that solve the frustration or erase the satisfaction of figuring it out yourself? And I get it. I get where you're coming from. But we also showed a clip at the top of the show where the guy tried to help out his buddy in college football 26, and he didn't even realize that they were on defense. So sometimes your friends don't always come in clutch, HenricK.
But then it becomes a story to tell later on. Hey,
That's
man,
right.
Remember that one time you tried to give me tips, but you sucked?
You suck, and we
Yeah.
both suck. Yeah, we both found a gig on a low IQ team. But tell us, gamers, does having an AI helper cheapen discovery, especially when it comes to the secrets that used to spread through community word of mouth? And are we okay with games quietly watching how we struggle so they can decide when to step in? Let us know what's good. But man, this has been such a jam-packed show of Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, and we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. And for those that haven't liked, shared, subscribed, or even hit the notification bell, that is the best way to never miss a live show.
And if you've been here before, you should know the drill by now. This is my QR code. Go ahead and scan that one, go to my YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and stay tuned for whatever comes there, because it's going to be great. You already know it.
That's right. And for now, you, the gamers, have a blast in the new year. Keep on gaming, keep on raging, and we will see you next week, fam. Peace.
See ya.